Hi, I'm Alex Lee. This month I'm talking to Nikki Clark to find out how to do your hair in under 10 minutes. So how can we achieve a look in under 10 minutes, Nikki?
Okay, I mean the first thing to remember is that it always helps if you've got some of the important basics, and that is, you're always going to get really good results if you follow 6 kind of golden rules. Some of that is to have...
What are the 6 golden rules?
Okay, you've got, first of all, get the best haircut that you can for your type, in terms of what you want it to achieve. And that's really kind of important. I mean, anybody that has got, say, for instance, I mean, I've seen lots of people that are always wanted to try and get body, that don't have any layers. You know, sometimes if you want it to do a certain thing, it may just be the way that it's cut, that it's not working. So that's the first thing. Secondly is to make sure that you wash it, you cleanse it and condition it right. I mean, you'd be amazed, these are very, very simple things, but in fact quite often what happens is people are just using the wrong shampoos. Now if you take the extremes of, say, somebody either with very, very thick coarse hair that's very frizzy, that needs it to be calmed down, or somebody would say very fine hair that needs it to be plumped up, it's really, really key that you use the kind of shampoos that are going to give you the helping start from that point of view. In amongst that second rule of using the right cleansing products, it's also key that you rinse it properly. It's fine if you've got very, very short hair for you to put your head back in the bath and just give it a quick rinse, but generally speaking you need to use lots of cool running water and make sure it's rinsed properly. I would say probably most of the time that I find it difficult with people to actually do their hair, that experience bad hair days, it's usually because it just hasn't been washed. So what they get is they get a kind of, they get it okay for a day or two, and then it starts to disappear after that. Rule number 3 is then to make sure that you use the right products on your hair. I mean, if you're trying to get body into it, it's perfectly reasonable for you to be using not only a volumizing spray, but the right mousse, but also in terms of the way you apply it. If you need body at the roots, it needs to be applied at the roots. You can't be that random about it. And very often, it's amazing how people are just very confused as to the kind of things that are out there. They use serums on their hair when their hair is very fine because they think it's dry, and yet actually all it needs is a good blow dry. They complain about not having body, but yet they don't use the sort of products that maybe will give them body. If you've got frizzy hair, you need to use something that's going to calm it down, etc., etc. So that's very, very key. Number 4 is really in terms of the way you dry it, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to spend a lot of time. It is just important though that you dry it correctly, and it may well be that you need to use a round brush, it may be that you need to just finger dry it, you may need to just put it into place, or maybe use a few.
But what happens if you don't know how to use a round brush?
Well, I mean, I think the thing is to try and practice the things that are relevant to your hair type. I mean, we'll go through some of those in a second. I mean, one of the things on your hair, Alex, is that it's good if we can get a little bit of body into it, but you don't necessarily need to have that much. But just being able to do some simple things that are going to get some lift will be, very important. Number 5 is really to make sure that you use the right finishing product on it, and very often you can turn something that's kind of okay into something that's very special just by in terms of the finishing product you use, whether that be something like creme de luxe or whether it's a certain type of hairspray. But that's really the thing that just makes that special kind of editorial moment. And last of all, actually, and of course this is one way where yours is perfectly good, is get the colour right. Very often, you can have somebody that it just doesn't work because it's either not interested enough, or there's, you've got some of the greys showing through, or there's just not enough texture, or the colour is not giving it the kind of body that it could give. So it does help to actually to put some colour in, and especially if you've got something like lights being used. Very often you can use those in 2 different ways. One is to cosmetically look as if there is texture through it by actually creating different types of tones through it, but also physically because it actually swells the hair shaft and actually makes it look fuller. That works very well. And then even something as simple as a good vegetable colour or a good semi-permanent will add depth to something that looks very glossy, especially if you've got dark hair. It works just in adding a little bit of tone just to kind of reflect the light back, and you'll find that also when you're blow drying it, it will make it easier as well. The main thing really is, first of all, we want to give it some kind of substance to it, and it works very well to use something like this product, which is called Hair Raisin. The great thing about this product is that not only is the actual product itself very, very good, but also the fact that it is in a spray means that you can be quite definite about where you put it. If I just want it in the roots and a bit on the mid-lengths, I can do that. Let's do that again, because I've dropped the top. So we do it again. Okay, start again. So the good thing about this is that if I just want my body in the roots and on the mid-lengths, I can direct it exactly where I want it. Sometimes when people are using mousses and gels, it may well be that the product itself is fine, but because they can't apply it in such a specific way, it ends up doing the opposite. In fact, what it does is you put your mousse on, and because you're not actually getting it into the roots, it then tends to weigh the hair down, so it has the opposite effect. So it's quite key that the styling process is in fact started by you putting your product on. This is also very good for somebody with fine hair as well, even if you're just blow drying it, because what happens very often is that if you can get it to lift slightly away from the roots, it tends to not get as oily so fast as well, because it's not sitting on the head. So it also works really well for that. Now something like this, once you've got your product on, you're starting to do the styling process by lifting this already. You can then decide what you want to do. Now you have the option of either blow drying it, but you could also do something even simpler by, let's just put all this on. Okay, so you've got all this on, and now this is kind of slightly damp, but with product. This is now around about sort of 90% damp, so it's going to be pretty dry. It's not going to take a long time to dry. You can then take quite random sections, but giving body, and just lifting these, and with a very simple sectioning clip, by just wrapping it around your finger, you can then just secure that by a little sectioning clip. And in fact, what you're doing is you're going to create a movement without necessarily having to use heat on it at all. This can also be blow dried that way, but
in my damaged hair,
with your damaged hair,
it's much better if you don't use heat.
Well, it's not so much that you don't use, it's actually okay to use heat, and it's a real fallacy for people to think that using heat on their hair is actually bad for it. It's actually not. In fact, if anything, sometimes it can be good for it. The problem is when people blow dry, and then what they're doing is they're using either plastic brushes or bristle brushes, and that's when you start to see the damage at the end.